as Rep. LaHood said, I'm an attorney with the national law firm of Eklund and Blando, where our symbol is actually a slingshot, because we take the David and Goliath fights, we sue the government. That's what my practice is. And in recent years, this has taken a very alarming turn, as federal, state, and local governments have worked together to facilitate the construction of massive industrial projects by subsidiaries of Chinese Communist Party companies. Even more concerning, all of these projects, every single one, is being built next to a military base. Now, I first became aware of this disturbing trend from the Fufeng corn wet milling plant in Grand Forks, North Dakota, being built by a CCP subsidiary called Fufeng, with the full backing of the city council and with funding from the state of North Dakota. There, a brave group of citizens were fighting for their referendum rights, trying to stop the plant from being built in their community. In a story that would sadly be repeated nationwide, the local government fought furiously to not only deny their citizens referendum rights, but to hide information about the project from their citizens in the name of economic development. Ultimately, we were forced to go all the way to the North Dakota Supreme Court before the Air Force finally took action to shut Fufeng down based on the clear national security risks they presented. That victory was short-lived, however, as I began to receive calls from a series of other citizens and organizations across the country who were facing the very same plight. Next was a group in Marshall, Michigan, fighting the cattle plant being built with Ford, followed by another group in Green Charter Township, Michigan, fighting Gotion. Both companies were receiving millions in state subsidies to build their plants, and the story was the same: a denial of referendum rights that we've now had to take to the Michigan Supreme Court after the courts changed 100 years of precedent for the Marshall case, or a complete denial of information to the local citizens in Green Charter. And in fact, in Green Charter, the story was even more egregious. Gotion Inc, a CCP subsidiary that originally tried to build a project in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, before the community there kicked them out for being a national security concern, is seeking to build a dangerous lithium battery plant. It, too, is receiving millions in state subsidies and federal tax breaks. Depositions have revealed that board members were promised jobs by Gotion, offered trips to China, and, as Brett Molinar mentioned, one even had a $2 million offer on his $180,000 property by Gotion, all undisclosed to the public and undisclosed to the board, that voted then to facilitate the plan. In this case, I represented a citizen group that tried multiple avenues to get the federal and state government to investigate the plant, all of which were rebuffed. In one almost comical example, the Fish and Wildlife Services would not even step in to stop Gotion from tearing down trees that hosted America's national symbol, bald eagles. Unfortunately, Gotion did not limit itself to Michigan, and that's why we're here. With millions more from the Illinois government, Gotion is trying to build another lithium battery plant here in Illinois, literally adjacent to an explosive quarry whose rocks have pierced the roof of its building and less than half a mile from an elementary school and a preschool. Just like in Green Charter. Gotion had the village board sign NDAs as members of the Separate Development Alliance, stopping these elected officials from speaking to the public. When I asked the board to conduct and request a full Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, CFIUS, review, they refused, apparently having no interest in finding out whether Gotion was a national security threat. Throughout all this, the pattern has been the same. These CCP subsidiary companies obtain tens of millions of dollars in government subsidies, your money, before they've even broken ground on their planned projects. They promise to bring jobs while repeatedly downward revising those numbers and salaries and bringing in non-US citizens to take those jobs. All the while, the local government refuses to listen to its citizens, calling them racist, ignorant, or opposed to progress, instead of recognizing them for the heroes that they are. I am here today to tell you that I firmly believe that failures in the law have facilitated the infiltration of these CCP-owned plants into our backyards. First and most egregious is CFIUS, whose sole purpose is to stop companies like Gotion from building critical energy infrastructure. After a perfunctory short-form review in 2018, CFIUS has never reinvestigated Gotion. This is due to at least two failures. One, there's no mechanism for citizens to request a CFIUS review. Instead, they have to go through their local governments, which frequently, just like here, have a vested interest in ensuring no such review occurs. And second, there's no automatic reevaluation trigger. Gotion is now registered as a foreign agent under the Foreign Agent Registration Act, but amazingly, that didn't trigger a new mandatory CFIUS reevaluation. That must change. Second, public disclosure and sunshine laws, designed to ensure our government is accountable to us, can apparently be defeated by creating a separate entity, having the public officials join that, and then sign NDAs in that capacity, turn around and tell their citizens, can't say a word to you. Elected officials are our servants. They have no right to keep secret from the public information about massive industrial projects, or frankly, any project. Again, a simple change in the law that would forbid public officials from signing such NDAs could have prevented this. Third, the Environmental Protection Agency, which will go out of its way to investigate small landowners building ditches, claims it has no role in monitoring or investigating these massive industrial plants. Why? Because the Inflation Reduction Act and Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, while providing millions in tax breaks, provide no direct funding. So the EPA says, we don't have a role here. The state EPAs need to review this. The exact same EPAs whose governors just paid billions or millions of dollars to bring those projects in. Again, a simple change to the law. The best action would be passing this committee's No Gotion Act, but failing that, changing the law so that companies that claim tax credits or tax breaks trigger necessary EPA involvement would significantly ensure that the federal government goes out of its way to investigate these. Thankfully, there is increasing nationwide awareness, as evidenced by the Select Committee on China and this roundtable of what is happening in our country. Citizens across the country are standing up and unfortunately having to take the law into their own hands. Here, we're lucky that we have local attorney Dave Bergdahl here, who's partnering with me to help fight the plant. But the reality remains that none of that should have been on your shoulders. However, I remain confident that justice will prevail, and I'm ready and excited to speak further today regarding what can be done to ensure our nation's critical military and energy infrastructures remain protected, and that citizens can keep their state and local government accountable. Thank you.